Chasing. Oh man, look at that.
So can
Love the
people
graphic.
see my screen and me?
I don't believe so during the presentation. I think they'll just see the presentation. That could be wrong though, Ty. Maybe you could look at it on YouTube and let us know in the Telegram chat. You don't have to say anything, Ty. I'm going to assume you heard that. But yeah, I think we are live now. Let me go ahead and pop open YouTube just to make sure before I start talking and leave everybody behind. So, there we go.
You can see my mouse pointer too, right? When I point at stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I can see you there.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Let me get these chats set up so I can interact with all the wonderful folks. Okay, looks like we got some people talking with us in chat on Discord. Adam says YouTube is up. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate you, man. That's helpful.
Oops.
What is that meme? I don't even, you know what? I don't even want
Jumped
to
at
know what
that.
that meme is. So, and Aaron, actually, I'm looking at YouTube right now. It does look like when you start presenting, it's going to have you up in the top right hand corner.
Oh, good. It'll have me. Okay, good.
Yep. So we'll
Am
get
I
to see
able to
that.
see chat anywhere? Do you know?
Yeah, yeah. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see the YouTube chat. You
Oh,
can click the little
I'll go
pop out
there.
option.
Yeah.
And then on Discord, it's just the normal chat. The only thing with Discord is you won't want to actually go into the stage. You just want to click on the little chat button when you hover over the option to go on the stage. That way you don't get the like doubling back feedback in your ear.
Got
But
it.
welcome everybody. Shout out to folks I see in chat there. Nebraska Chaser with an awesome meme. It wasn't Phil that was late, it was Gabe. I was actually late because I'm covering for Phil. But it's totally cool. He told me in plenty of time. I was just taking care of a cat for my girlfriend who's out of town at Burning Man right now. She's on her way to Burning Man right now. So I rushed back here and wasn't going to miss this opportunity. Bomber Fox 17 on Discord. What's up? Big what's up to the 173 GTG Shear. I'm not sure exactly what that display name means. Sounds like there's some lore behind that if you want to drop it down into the chat. Yeah, Nebraska Chaser, that is awesome. She's on her way to Burning Man. She's actually the COO here at Storm Chaser Coaching too. I'm sure you guys have heard me talking about that before. You've probably seen her around in the chats. She goes by B. Yes, she's looking to have a real nice time out there. It's her first time ever going. She'd been wanting to go for a long time, and um, Bomber Fox 17, yeah, apparently is still a thing. So what's up on YouTube to Metal Dudes Garage 3976? Hello to you as well, my friend. Glad to have you here when we talk about the Bears cage here in a few moments. Leo Marol, good to see you as well over on Discord. Lots of usual faces, Aaron. Glad to have all these folks here with us tonight.
How's it going, everybody?
All right, so we'll give them a few more minutes here for people to trickle in so that way they don't miss the beginning of the presentation, maybe 2 or 3 more minutes. And I'll throw it to you real quick here, Aaron. I know there was a setup either, was it 2 days ago or yesterday up there in Canada? Did you happen to get out and chase anything?
Yeah, I was it was here in Manitoba and I was actually down in North Dakota as well. But it wasn't a significant threat. Storm Prediction Center had a 2% tornado risk area. I think it was a slight risk. And then up here in Manitoba we had what would be I guess so they don't have the same risk categories of slight, enhanced, moderate, high. It goes slight, moderate, extreme. I think there's three categories. Well, it was the second category and it has the little tornado symbol. Now they don't do like tornado percentages or anything like that. But if you look at the Storm Prediction Center's 2% area, they kind of draw it when they draw it and then when it's on the border with Canada, the lines will end at the border, and if they think it continues into Canada, they put little arrows on the lines. So you can kind of then visualize, where that risk area that the Storm Prediction Center is putting into Canada up there. So a little Canada tidbit, chasing tip there for chasing in Canada. But yeah, so I chased it. It was not yesterday, right? It was the day before. What is today? Wednesday. Yeah, it was Monday. And it was like I said, kind of just a meager setup, but something I hadn't chased anything all month, so it was something to chase here locally. Usually in August, it's like our best time for tornadoes here in Manitoba, especially the first couple of weeks. But the first couple of weeks of August was kind of cool, and so we didn't really have any storms. And then it warmed up a little bit. We had that wrist day, and I went east of where I live here. It's just southwest of Winnipeg, near the little town of Morden. Kind of watched things develop in the afternoon. Now the models are kind of struggling with this, like with the setup, and at first it kind of showed the models were showing that we were gonna have storms initiate like around 6 p.m., like further to the west, and then the models were showing it was gonna be like at 9 p.m., way further to the east, or even later 9 p.m. And then we ended up getting that happening about 8:30, 9 p.m. So right at sunset, some storms finally went up just west of Winnipeg, and but they were so close to Winnipeg, I wasn't really able to chase them. It got dark, and you can't really chase through the big city like that. So I just kind of sat back and watched the lightning. And they got severe warning, but never got a tornado warning. But interesting thing about Canada, though, this past month, or at least for the last couple of weeks, they have the new polygon system in Canada. So if you guys have talked, I've talked before about chasing in Canada. They have the warnings before were by municipalities, which are like counties, so they would get kind of weird, the warning boxes. But now they draw actual polygons in with the path of the storm like they do down in the States. That just got implemented in Canada. So you won't actually see it, I don't think, in Radar Scope yet. They're not supporting it, but Weatherfront app has it visible in there. So, but yeah, so
Hey,
yeah,
+1 to Weatherfront.
yeah.
That's pretty cool. Glad you were able to get out and at least get some storms in after what sounds like a pretty dry end of July and August so far.
Yeah, for sure. It was nice. Get out there in the prairie. Maybe have one more shot uh this weekend. Maybe we'll see another shot, maybe in southeastern Saskatchewan or something.
Hell
I
yeah,
gotta look
man.
I
And
gotta look a little closer. One of the locals actually told me about it today. They're like, oh, it looks like something coming up maybe this weekend. I'm like, really? I'll have to take a look. I haven't been looking at anything. I've been busy editing videos and stuff. So yeah.
that's like when my family members tell me that there's going to be storms tomorrow. It's like if they're just general thunderstorm risks and it's not showing up on the SBC Outlook, my brain like doesn't even register that there's anything happening. So I like get told there's like supposed to be storms tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that, and I'm the one that should be telling them, not the other way around.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah, well, so this guy follows some guy locally and saw him posting about it. So now I'm like, well, I guess I gotta take a look. Because I didn't even think about looking because it's kind of things are winding down, and I've been busy editing videos for YouTube and stuff. So, but yeah. Anyway,
Well, we will get started here in about 30 seconds, but I just want to call out Florida Man in our chat. He actually says, I prefer pivotal weather more than weatherfront, not going to lie. So if all of you folks in chat right now could go ahead and soundly shame him, I would appreciate that. I know John would too, so let's go ahead and get that started. And with that, Aaron, I will pass it over to you. And I know we've got a good group of people here that are ready to learn a little bit more about what it's like to be in the Bears cage.
yeah. So chasing inside the bear's cage is what we're talking about today, and you can see I've got a little graphic there in the background. It's a tornado. It's got a bear's face. Looks real scary, right? And uh, it's funny it's about to make it. I used AI obviously to make this. I'm not gonna like pass this off as like I'm some graphics artist, but I use AI and I told it to make it look like me, and it doesn't really look like me. And I told it again like that doesn't look like me, so make it look like me, and it didn't look like it got even worse, I think. So then I trolled it about 6 or 7 times to put me inside the cage with the tornado, and it will not. I even told it to make the bars be in front of my character, so it looks like I'm inside the cage with the tornado. And no matter what I did, I could not get the darn AI to put me in the cage with the tornado. So anyway, so we're going to be talking today about chasing inside the bear's cage, and at least that works out because one of the things of chasing inside the bear's cage is to chase inside the bear's cage, you've got to enter the bear's cage. So I'm outside the cage. There's an opening there. We're going to enter the cage here and go into the presentation. So, what is the bear's cage? So, the bear's cage is there's no actual cage or anything out there, obviously, but the bear, the tornado is the bear. and you, the chaser, are inside of essentially a cage, which is generally it's the area underneath the rotation of the supercell where that tornado might drop at any time. Uh, Now, the bear's cage was originally coined from, and I was actually going to look this up, but I forgot to look it up. But it was coined from the rain curtains that you'll see sometimes wrap around a storm when you're out there chasing a storm, and that's one of the signs that a tornado is about to form is you see those rain curtains coming around, and they kind of make a surround the tornado, and you're inside those rain curtains right next to the tornado, and that's you inside the bear's cage with the bear, which is the tornado. And it is the most dangerous place to be while chasing a storm because, as I mentioned, it's generally the area, and I say the area underneath the rotation of a supercell or a tornado might form because the bear's cage is not always going to be evident that you're inside the bear's cage. It may be invisible wall of wind or just that area. As I mentioned, I consider it just that area underneath the storm where a tornado might form, where eventually at some point you may get surrounded by those rains and the cage may form around you. But we're going to talk about entering the cage and what to do when you're in the cage and stuff like that, what it looks like and stuff here coming up. So I think probably now, and this doesn't just hold true for the bear's cage, but generally, uh, probably not. It's just the most important thing on chasing in general and chasing tornadoes to have an escape plan, have a route before you get close to a storm. That you know what you're going to do if things go wrong. You find yourself about to get in the path of a tornado, get hit by a tornado. What are you going to do? And that might be, as simple as turning to if the storm's moving to the east, turning to the east and staying ahead of it. If you came from the north, from the core, you punch through the core or something. Maybe that just means going back through the core. Uh, but always have a plan of what you're going to do in your mind if things go wrong, and that includes looking you're looking at your maps and your radar and figuring out where the storm is going to go and what you're going to do if you need to get out of the way. So, besides just the tornado, the bear, there's a lot of other dangers here inside the bear's cage or that area that's underneath the rotating supercell. You run the risk of inflow winds bringing down power lines, blocking off your escape path. That could happen, or other flying debris hitting you when you're inside the bear's cage when there's actually a tornado down. There was a tornado I chased last year in Nebraska, the Wellfleet, Nebraska tornado, and I was my escape route for this tornado, which had been really deviant, was all over the place, just kind of doing loops out in the sandhills in Nebraska. My escape plan was to be able to have to go back the way I came because there was only one route. I was going down this little dirt road, and it was my only route in. I could either keep going straight past the tornado, or I could retreat back the way I came. So one way in, essentially one way out. And as I was chasing this tornado, it was off to the side to my what would have been my east, well out into a field, just spinning out there. It started approaching me and coming towards this road. It had a real strong inflow jet into it, and I was worried that that strong inflow jet, because also right off to my south or to my northeast, just to just a little bit behind me, close to the tornado, was a big farmyard with a lot of outbuildings and stuff like that, and then there were also power lines running along the road. And I was worried about that strong inflow jet that I could see out in the sandhills, just ripping through the open fields out there, open prairie, but very, very intense ghost train, inflow jet. And I'm like, man, if that comes through this farm and it's behind me and it brings these power lines down, I'm gonna get trapped in here with this real deviant tornado. And then all these other chasers started showing up too. So in that case, I ended up backing out and got away from that barn or that farmyard and a safe distance where I didn't feel like uh, if the power lines or something came down that I would get trapped and could potentially get hit by the tornado. So and I did have to end up seeing some chasers further ahead having to retreat back the way I came as stuff was flying through. Um, so it can be really, really dangerous. You got to have an escape plan and have contingency plans for that escape plan, and be anticipating, what's going to happen when you're in this really, really dangerous area of the storm. Now, besides the tornado and all that flying debris and power lines, you've also got really large destructive hail sometimes around these storms. So to be able to create these monster hailstones, you got to have this really strong updraft to be able to suspend it way high up in the atmosphere. And that means uh you have this massive stones. They're generally, they're not going to fall far from that updraft because it's such a big stone. They're going to go up in the air and they're not going to be able to get pushed out too far downstream from the storm, away from the storm. If you're sitting a couple of miles east of a storm watching it, maybe if you're punching through the core, you might get hit by some marble to golf ball size hail. And as you get closer to that updraft to the bears, where the bears cage is, you're gonna find yourself running into bigger and bigger hail. So large destructive hail can definitely, yep. If you're gonna find big hail, it's probably gonna be some of the biggest hail is gonna be right there, next to the tornado and potentially in the bears cage itself. And, if you lose your windshield or something like that and you can't see, that's going to definitely pose a lot of risk for trying to escape if things go wrong. And then, of course, deadly lightning, those bolts of lightning that are branchless, like the most powerful branchless bolts of lightning coming out of the base of those storms, usually happening right in that area, or that bear's cage area. So, sometimes that's a lot of times I see that as a lead up. You're kind of in that road, that bears where the bear's cage might be eventually, and right before the tornado forms, the storm starts really ramping up and dropping big bolts all over the place. So, and chasing in the bear's cage, getting up close to tornadoes, it really only works well as a strategy if you have a really good road network, and not just a really good road network. You're also gonna it's a lot easier, better if you got a slow moving storm. You can stay right in there with the storm, obviously. You can stay in the bear's cage with a faster moving storm too, but obviously as the speed goes up and the road network quality diminishes, things are gonna get more difficult. It's gonna be hard to actually stay in a bear's cage like that up close to the tornado. It might just be a glancing blow if it's a really fast storm. So, entering the bear's cage. So, first we'll talk about this radar image down in the corner here. And I apologize, it's not weather front, but I didn't I took it on my phone and that's all I had. So,
We'll
uh
forgive you this time, Coach Aaron. We'll forgive you this time.
yeah. But this is a very important supercell image here. This is the Rossburn, Manitoba supercell. Uh just it's the first like our second scan on the radar. So it was like instantly I got this hook echo. So you can see this beautiful, okay, you guys can see my mouse here. You can see this bit of beautiful hook to it here. And you've got this inflow region here. And you've got where the rear flank downdraft's going to come around. And you've got where a tornado is going to form right in here. And this is where you would find your bear's cage once a storm actually formed. Now, entering the bear's cage. Now, there's a lot of ways to enter the bear's cage. You know, for the vast, for the lot of chasers that are more of the photographer types are kind of hanging back to do time lapses, take photographs, not really into the like up close, action packed adrenaline parts of chasing, which is, obviously, if you're doing that, you're trying to get into the bear's cage pretty much every time you chase. There is none of these are really important. These, you're not going to be doing any of these. You're going to be sitting out here, 3, 4 miles, got your camera set up, running a time lapse, and as the storm gets closer, maybe move with it, or maybe you stay down a ways and you just let it pass by. So, and you'll actually capture that bear's cage. You'll be able to see it essentially. What's the bear's cage as it passes by? So, but now if you want to get into the bear's cage, There's a lot of ways to get into the bear's cage. What I have listed here first is the hook slice. So we talked about the hook. The hook slice would essentially be what I'm about to do, what you're seeing on the radar here, but a little different in this situation. In this situation, the storm was moving to the north at this point, and the hook slice is cutting through like this hook, it's like slicing through it. Uh, but a mature supercell is going to have a real nice hook, and it's going to be more matured than this. It's going to be wrapped in like this. So this is just an early stages of a supercell here. And it's not even producing a tornado yet at this point. But let's say it was, and there's a little bit more of a defined hook here. A hook slice would be coming in from like this ray, like this, right? You come in, you cut through this rain, and it's gonna be heavy rain and big hail. That's gonna be real brief, and then you're gonna punch out, and you're gonna look over here to your right, and you're gonna see a tornado, hopefully, the bear, and you're in the bear's cage. So you punch out of that rain, you're right there, you're in that bear's cage. Now, another way to approach a storm is you might be coming in from doing a core punch and you're coming in from the north, let's say, and you're punching through all this rain, all this hail, just getting battered, blasted by wind and rain. It's real freaking scary. There's lightning and thunder. You're like, oh, this is never gonna end, but like I just gotta get through this rain. And it's real dark and rainy and scary, but I get through this rain. As soon as I get out of this rain, I'm gonna punch out and I'm gonna look off to my right to the west, and then I'm gonna see a beautiful tornado, right? Well, that's the core punch coming through here, and it's real dark. It's like I mentioned, real dark and rainy and scary and windy, and then it slowly as you get further out of the core, starts getting lighter and lighter until eventually you can kind of see through the rain, and you come through, yeah. Then you look off to your right, and you see the tornado, and then. Essentially at this point, this is a dangerous maneuver because the tornado is essentially coming towards you. When you punch out of that rain, that periphery of where that rain is, it's generally where the bear's cage is going to come. Like as soon as you get out of the rain, that area is that land, the path of the updraft and the bear's cage and the trail is going to pass somewhat close to that area generally, unless it really like takes a right turn hook or something like that, or wobbles or something. But for the most part, you're in a real dangerous area because you're in the path of the storm and you're about to be in the bear's cage, which is fine as long as you have a way to be able to not get hit by the tornado and stay with it and remain in the bear's cage. Now, the other way to enter the bear's cage, another way, it's kind of like if you're familiar with the Hell in the Cell from the WWF, and you're sitting there and you're in the ring and you're ready for the big show to happen, and they lower the cage down over you. That's like the cage surrounds you method of entering the bear's cage. You're right underneath that updraft. It's rotating, it's spinning, and you're watching, waiting for those rain curtains, looking off to the west, waiting for those rain curtains to start wrapping around. And then the bear's cage just kind of surrounds you and forms right over you. That's my favorite way to enter the bear's cage. Uh, because if you're entering the bear's cage in that way, that's the best and safest way as well, because you're most likely really dialed into the storm and what it's doing, and you know exactly what's happening and where the tornado is going to form. And it's like the most safest way, in my opinion, to enter the bear's cage is to actually be there before the storm is the most aggressive and meanest, and watch it build and build and build, and then yeah, and then and now there's also some risk there as well. Obviously the tornado could still potentially form on top of you, but most likely it's because you kind of like, for me it's like I'm watching, I know it's going to form, so you're going to try and get as close as you can without it forming on you, but can't always be perfect. And the least my least favorite way to enter the bear's cage, and probably by far the most dangerous way to enter the bear's cage, uh, is to make an approach from the south, or maybe from the east, southeast, where you can't see the tornado. Because if there's a bear's cage, that's now I did mention before that you can consider yourself in the bear's cage, but you could see the tornado from, let's say someone 6 miles away can see the tornado. You're underneath the storm. I would consider that in the bear's cage. But the true definition of a bear's cage would be if someone was just 1 or 2 miles just south of the storm of the tornado, and they were looking at the storm and looking at the tornado, all they would see is essentially look like it was rain wrapped. All they would see was like a wall of rain, and somewhere behind that rain would be the tornado. Uh, uh, and you would be inside of that. They wouldn't be able, obviously, you'd be where they wouldn't be able to see you. So that would be the most dangerous way would be to come from the south in that situation to where there's this wall of rain where you can't see the tornado and you have to punch through that. Because there is, once you punch through that rain, there's just a small little envelope of space there between where the rain is and where that tornado is. And that tornado is in like the center of all that rain rotating, and the rain is wrapping around it and pulling it into the storm. So once you're in that rain, and if it's rain wrapped, if it's completely rain wrapped, then you might just driving in rain and could drive right into the tornado. Hopefully, it's not completely rain wrapped. It's just some rain curtains that are wrapping around, and then there'll be like a little bit of an envelope of space there between where the rain is and the tornado is that you can kind of tuck into. But that's the most dangerous way, and uh, the I would definitely I generally don't try to do that. So I did it one time and I will watch it. I'll show you. I think I've done it maybe more than once, but the one example I have I did it was in Benjamin, Texas, and there's a video of it. We'll watch the video of it. And I didn't the video doesn't capture it before driving through the rain, but yeah, actually, and I've got another video I can show you guys that as a good example of why this is so dangerous. You can't see the tornado. Um, so we'll look at that here in a bit. But yeah, so entering the bear's cage, a lot of different ways to enter the bear's cage. As I mentioned, my preferred way is to not have to enter and get into the bear's cage. It's to be where the bear's cage is going to form and have it form around you. Oh, there we go. We're already to the part where I said we'll go to my YouTube page. So let me back out of this now. And okay, so this first one is the one I was talking about. This is Benjamin, Texas. Um, I don't know if it doesn't really show it really good, but let's see. I'm gonna hit play and let you guys let me know how this looks, if it's too choppy or whatnot. If it's too choppy, then we'll do um I'll just do like I'll pause it at frames to talk about the frames or whatever. Okay, so in this one, I'm entering the bear's cage, chasing with Reed Timmer actually right now in this one. And we've just punched through the Barracks cage from the south. You could hear baseballs get where Kale was hitting us. You can't really see where the tornado is. The tornado is just off to the side here. We finally just got through the rain and hail, and you can see immediately we see the tornado. So really no space at all between punching through the rain and hail and then getting into the bear's cage. And then the bear's cage is almost instantly right here. Yeah, so you can see that's why it's so dangerous to enter the bear's cage from the south because uh there's not sometimes there's a lot of hail, you're getting hit by hail, you can't see the tornado, all of a sudden you punch through it. The tornado's right there. We'll jump ahead here a little bit and I'll show you I scan up finally. Because I never even saw the funnel until we were basically inside of it. But okay, where's the pan at? I pan up here at some point. There it is. Right here. So there's, you can see clearly so we are a little bit more than in just in the bear's cage. We were pretty much in the tornado with that one. So all right, so that one is really the only one I really need to show as a full video, but this one is Taylor, Texas. And in this one, you can see the tornado right now, clear as day, no problem. And eventually, this tornado gets enveloped in rain. We're gonna jump ahead now to where it gets enveloped in rain. Actually, like disappears. Okay, so here's the bear's cage right here. You can see this like what looks like that's rain. That's rain curtains wrapping around. That's the bear's cage. So getting inside of that rain and being inside of that rain, you would be in the bear's cage with this tornado. Uh, we'll play it here. And you'll okay, so watch this. You can see how the tornado kind of disappears. So let's pause it there. We're gonna jump it back a little. Okay. So look at you can hardly see that tornado right now. It has wrapped rain around it. It's almost completely invisible at this point. Uh, but if you were in there, look with that tornado, you would be inside the bear's cage of that tornado. So very, very dangerous. It can be a very, very dangerous place to be. Let's see if there's anything else on this one I wanted to show. No. Okay. So then the next one. This is that same tornado. This is the 360 video of it. But you can see we look around here. As I mentioned, see this little slot right here? This is that clear slot. This is like I was saying, like there's a little bit of an envelope, a little bit of space between the rain and the tornado. So I'm obviously in the bear's cage in this one. You can see, if you look back to the west, the rain is wrapping around here around me. I'm in the rain. I'm in the bear's cage with the bear. You can't really get too much closer than that without getting hit because this one was a little bit of a close call. Like it was moving a little faster than I thought. And I got out of the way, sat in the bear's cage with it as it passed by me. It's got to go do an ad. But yeah, so that one was Taylor, Texas. Okay, so trying to get to this next one. This is a good one. This is another good example of we can see the bear's cage from distance, and then I drive up to it and then get inside of the bear's cage. Now, this one I came from the south. Now, as I mentioned, coming from the south, really, really dangerous. Don't want to do it. But in this case, I came from the south before the bear's cage had really developed and formed. I could see the tornado. And so I could tell how big it was going to get rain wrapped with a bear's cage that you can't see through. And so I punched in as close as I could get before that happened. Um, and this is Spiritwood, North Dakota. Now you can see this is one that really shows you good. You can see these rain curtains wrapping around, coming around. We'll hit play here. And this is Spiritwood, North Dakota. It was about an hour and a half before the Enderlin EF5 tornado formed, the first EF5 in 13 years. So really, really potent atmosphere. So I'm coming in from the south. We're driving north in this video. Storm's coming from the west, moving west to east. You can see those rain curtains just wrapping around the developing tornado right here. So those rain curtains are that wall of rain that would make the cage for the bear's cage. So as I'm chasing this, I'm seeing all these rain curtains wrapping around, just from experience, knowing that, oh man, this is going to be a beast of a tornado and it's going to get completely wrapped by rain at some point. So I punched up. You'll see me. We're just going to roll this one. Let it roll. I'll get the sound going. It's got really good sound. But I punched up as this thing's developing. I wanted to get inside the bear's cage before it became because if it became too developed and too wrapped in rain and I couldn't see the tornado, I wouldn't feel as comfortable trying to get up close to the tornado. So I wanted to get up close before it got too big and rain wrapped. Does the video look all right, Gabe?
Video looks good. The only thing is, I'm not sure if we have the sound pass through turned on. We'll probably have to check on that for upcoming streams, but
Oh, okay, okay. That makes sense.
video looks perfect.
Okay. Well, the knowing that you don't have sound, I'll keep narrating what's going by. But you can see the strong inflow ripping by here. There you can see me, the RFD. I just mentioned on the video that I'm about to get blasted by RFD. So that RFD is those rain curtains that wrap around and become that wall, the walls of the cage. So you can see the rain starting to hit the windshield now. And here we go. I'm punching into this rain, trying to get into that little slot, that clear slot between the walls of the cage and where the tornado is. Very, very dangerous, but I mean, look at that. That's badass, right? Yeah, pretty badass, I say. Yeah, it was this tornado was rated EF3, but I am certain this was a EF5 tornado. I was just getting pummeled by these inflow winds that were just rocking the car and just howling. Like right now, I can hear the howl just woo, woo. Like it was a pretty spooky tornado, one of the spookiest ones I've chased. And it's funny is I'm actually doing a video edit right now. It's my top 5 scariest tornadoes. And I think I have this one listed as number 2. So, but yeah, so right in the bear's cage, like that is textbook. You can see how it's off to the side here behind it. It's lighter colored, but you can't see anything. We're just surrounded by walls of rain and the tornado. So like this is probably one of my best examples of being inside the bear's cage that I have. I actually was feeling a little uncomfortable and backed it up a little bit. But yeah, Spiritwood, North Dakota. So that was just last year. All right, let's see what else we got here. We have got now here is an example of being inside a bear's cage. But if you look around, you can see it clear as day. There's no rain, low precipitation, supercell. Uh, so not always will there be a wall of rain where you can say you're in the bear's cage. Like this is obviously technically the bear's cage, as you can see. There is just vast amounts of debris flying all over. This is Westmoreland, Kansas. I actually get out of the car to step into the bear's cage with all this debris because I was just in awe. And I felt like I was safe at the moment. I was watching where all this debris was going, but I was checking my six. I was looking back behind me, watching above because I knew debris might start raining down. I mean, you can see here I am looking back up behind me. I'm like, oh shit. Those big deck right here. I'm like, oh shit, that stuff's getting bigger. Big piece of sheet metal comes down. So as I mentioned, I'm fighting off a sneeze here. As hold on. As I mentioned, yeah. Uh,
Just let it rip, man. I'll edit
I'm
it out
trying.
afterwards. You're
I'm
totally
trying.
good.
I'm trying to let it rip. I've been won't go. Okay. But yeah, so as you can see, very, very uh dangerous here being in the bear's cage with all this flying debris. Um no walls of rain, but definitely in the cage with the bear here, Westmoreland, Kansas. All right. So what else do we have to show here? We have got oh, this is the okay. This is the Greenfield, Iowa day. This is before the Greenfield tornado. This is the first tornado of the day. Hit Valonia, I think is the name of the town in Iowa. But this is right. This is early on. Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to show. Now you can see clearly here. This is a case where I was ahead of the storm. Um, the Bears cage walls look like it was actually the tornado wind field. And I was like, okay, I'm not getting any closer to this thing. Because this thing is like this thing like the rain curtains looked violent, right? So I was like, I'm not dancing with this thing at all. So I actually bailed and I blasted way east to try and escape this thing and almost got hit by it. It was moving like 60 miles an hour. And I stopped. I was driving my truck. I just got this truck and I had taken it down to chase with because I wanted to go to Indiana the next day after chasing. This is in Iowa. And I wanted to go to Indiana the next day and get my boat and take it back to Canada. I was storing it at a friend's house, but so I didn't want to like get into hail. I didn't want to wreck the truck. I didn't have my typical chase vehicle. So I was like, oh, I'm definitely not getting tangled into this thing. But even if I had the Subaru or the RAV, I probably would have still done the same move here. But we'll kick it going here. You can just see like these rain curtains are just absolutely wrapping around this circulation. And I'm just like, holy shit, I gotta get the hell out of here. It jumped in the truck and it just blasted east as fast as I could as this thing chased me. So uh sometimes like here's the we'll do the time lapse of it. We'll roll this 360 time lapse of it of the bear. We'll watch the bear's cage form. You can see this is our lowering here. This is the rotation. Here's me getting out. There's me trying to escape. Here's me almost getting hit and getting stuck in the mud. And it blasted by. Luckily, I didn't get stuck in the mud. It almost blew me in sideways into the ditch from the RFD winds. And then I got stuck in the mud and missed the Greenfield, Iowa EF4 tornado as it started. This is it. This is the Iowa EF4 like lower updraft forming like right in here. As I'm stuck in the damn mud. I was pissed off about that. All right. And then the last one I have here, this was Iowa and not really nothing too exciting, but it gives another good example of, oh, are you kidding me? I guess we're watching an ad. Let's start it from the back here. There. Now there is just like a beefy wall cloud, beast of a wall cloud, and probably a tornado down right there. With no wall cloud wall or no bear's cage walls, no rain wrapping around it. But this one changed really, really fast. And as it came close, as it approached me, I let it approach me. You can see it starts getting, can't see it anymore. It's wrapped in that rain. It's in the bear's cage walls are up. So the only way to see the tornado now would be inside of that or wait for it. But eventually, sometimes those walls clear out, that rain clears out. Uh, but this one was, I think I backed off on this one because, uh, yeah, you can see here's the left edge because I couldn't see it. It was just surrounded in rain. Yeah. So very dangerous to try and get into the bear's cage. You can see like this is a case where the bear's cage is approaching me. I'm east of the storm. Bear's cage is moving towards me and I'm letting it come towards me. And that's my least favorite way to enter the bear's cage because you can't really you're kind of your only control is to move out of the way and get out of the way. So um whereas when you're like you let it form over you, or you coming from behind, or you coming from the north, you punch into it. You can kind of you're controlling your entry into the bear's cage. Sitting in the path of the storm and letting the bear's cage envelop you is consume you is my least favorite way, probably. Or if we're coming from the south, obviously being not I don't like that, but it's very dangerous. So, uh, but yeah, so that's the meat of the presentation. I guess I left some time for some questions.
Awesome presentation, Aaron. And the thing that I was thinking of, especially during the portion where you were sharing the examples and walking us through those, is something Trey talked about when we first launched Storm Chaser Coaching, which is that this wasn't going to be just a platform where we were just constantly yelling at people to not get close to tornadoes because that's unrealistic. You know, what we really wanted to do was teach people how to, number one, assess their level of risk that they wanted to take, and then once they actually figured out how close they want to get to tornadoes, give them the tools that they need, the education that they need to actually navigate those situations safely. And so I appreciate that you were able to share a lot of examples of what it's like to actually get extremely close. And that last example, especially when there was no RFD at all, it was beautiful. You could see for miles, and then in a very short period of time, it was just overwhelmed with the bear's cage. And I like that you decided to back off there. And I could see exactly why you said earlier that you don't really like letting the bear's cage come to you, because how the hell are you supposed to know where the tornado is when that thing just overwhelms you?
Yeah, exactly. Where is it at? How fast is it moving? And how big is it, right? And how wide is it? Is it just a little needle or is it a quarter mile wide uh stovepipe, right? Like, yeah, so That's why I don't prefer that because I don't feel like I'm in control at that point. When I can come in from the back or or like I said, the best way is then when I feel the most control is when I'm right there with the storm where there's a risk that the tornado could form close to me or on top of me, but I feel like that's almost the safest spot because it's likely not going to form on top of me. And even, I've had tornadoes form on top of me and, for the most part, there's a little bit of buildup to a tornado, but that's not entirely true. Like you can have instant EF4 wins, right? Like it can go from nothing to EF4 in a snap of a finger, right? And loft you, right? So it's not safe to just, or it's not, you shouldn't just roll the dice on that, right? Like, yeah. Anyway, it's a dangerous game for sure, right? But like I said, like the odds of actually a tornado planning on you and forming on top of you are even being underneath the rotation is pretty low, right? Like it's a large amount of area for a tornado form. And as I mentioned, generally when a tornado forms, like I can only think of one situation where a tornado went from nothing to like a violent wedge EF4 tornado, and it's the Joplin tornado. If you watch the Base Hunters
Oh my
video of
god,
it.
that video is insane.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite videos of all time because it goes from nothing to violent EF4 wedge like in seconds, right? So now that's a very rare case. The vast majority of like, even the big Rossburn one that I intercepted here in Manitoba, it was rated EF3. It's probably packing at least EF4 or maybe even EF5 wins in there, but probably EF4. It started as just a little couple little suctions along next to the road, right? And then it slowly kind of wound up and beefed up, right? So I would say the vast majority of tornadoes start like that and then build up to their full strength rather than instantly being their full strength. So therefore, that's why I feel like being right underneath the rotation in the bear's cage before it forms is the safest place. Uh, yeah, because I'm in the most control, and it's probably most likely the weakest the tornado will ever be in its life cycle. So I'm going to get in the cage with it before it becomes difficult to get into the cage with it.
Hell yeah, man. And I'm looking over here on Discord and YouTube right now. I see we've already got a few questions coming in on Discord. Folks who are watching on YouTube, if you look at the bottom of the chat, I actually put up a Q&A button. So if you press that, type out your question, go ahead and ask Aaron that. And we'll do Q&A here for about 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on how many questions there are. So we'll go ahead and start with Nebraska Chaser. And by the way, before I read this question here, I just want to remind folks that if you are on Discord, there is a separate channel to ask your questions. On YouTube, we're able to just put the Q&A box at the bottom of the chat. But on Discord, go ahead and follow that embed that I just threw in the chat. There's a specific channel to put your question in. If you put it in the general chat, it will get lost. So, all right, first question is from Nebraska Chaser. They say, "What beverage are you drinking?" And on top of that, "What kind of guy are you? Water, pop, soda, something else?" So great first question.
I have a dirty blonde ale, I guess it is, from Nine Locks Brewing Company in Nova Scotia. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've got.
Nova Scotia is all the way on the other side of Canada, right?
Yeah, east side. Yeah,
East
on
side.
the Atlantic coast. Yeah.
They ever get any tornadoes over there?
Uh, man, I don't think so. Probably. I mean, I'm sure there has been at some point, but I've chased some post-tropical cyclones there, like previous hurricanes that make it all the way up there and then they go post-tropical. They broaden out. So, a hurricane has real tight rotation. And as they go further north, they get into cooler waters and they kind of get uh, uh, pulled apart and they get bigger. And as they get bigger, the big wind fields expands out. It gets weaker, but the wind gets get away from like the center. So they cause a lot of tree damage and stuff like that. So widespread tree damage and stuff. I chased one in Sydney, Nova Scotia, like in that's where you guys know Frankie McDonald. I met him when I was there and went to Sydney, Nova Scotia. And we met up and I was hanging out with him, talking to him for a little bit. And Yeah, it was cool. He was right there in the danger zone where the hurricane was. I still have all these weird pop-up just things popping up on my phone on social media. I was like, he wanted me to join these groups that he's a part of, and I gave him my phone, and he just started spam like joining all these groups on my phone. I'm like, whoa, I don't know. I was just like blown away. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, I can't tell Frankie to stop, so he just like signed me up to all these groups. So.
Dude, that's an incredible piece of lore. I can't believe we've never heard that story before. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Yeah, so
awesome.
I chased that post-tropical up there and they lost power up there in Sydney and then I went back to Halifax and I flew out of Halifax and I was trying to go home and then this hurricane blew up down in the Gulf. It was Hurricane Ian. So but I didn't have all my gear, so I flew back to Winnipeg, went to my car, got some of my camera gear out of my car, and went back into the airport and flew to Florida and chased Hurricane Ian. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Adam. Great presentation. Where did you get your 360-degree camera from?
I got it for free actually. Insta360 sent it to me. They were they've been sending me they sent me the X3, the X4, and the X5. And then my contact that works there, she left the company or something, and then the new contact ghosted me when I messaged her about trying to get an X6. So guess I'm cut out of the free camera loop.
Do you think that when a sufficient amount of time has passed so that you're operating on pretty outdated technology, do you think you would reach out of your own pockets to buy a new one? Or are you happy with the way that one's still performing?
Yeah, I would definitely buy a new one with my own money. Maybe like they released a lot of new they were like it was like every year they released a new one there for a while, but I feel like it's been a couple years between the five and the six. So yeah, we'll see. If there's enough of a difference from the tech, I would definitely upgrade, but or if I destroy one or something, but yeah. I love the Insta360 is great, so I highly recommend them.
And then I just noticed here, Aaron, you might want to stop your screen share. That way we can full screen for these folks.
Yeah.
There we go. They'll get to see our lovely faces up on their devices.
Yeah,
Bomber
sure.
Fox 17 asks, did the El Reno tornado change the way a lot of storm chasers approach the bear cage, and maybe relate how that relates to yourself as well in your storm chasing?
I would say yes. But I think enough time has passed since then that it's kind of been forgotten. And so I will say that when that happened, I was definitely chasing back then. I started chasing really like back in the late 90s. Uh and then but just kind of local stuff, didn't really know what I was doing. And then was chasing in the uh 2000s, especially when I moved down to Texas in 2005. And uh I early on when that happened, I wasn't chasing full time and I didn't chase El Reno, but I did obviously hear about it. And one of the things that made me the one of the okay, so one of the first things I did as a chaser because of that is I wanted a stronger vehicle that had a little more power to be able to escape uh strong inflow winds from a tornado. Because I remember watching Dan Robinson's video on YouTube about it, and his car, like he almost got smoked by it too because he couldn't escape the inflow winds of that tornado. So yeah, so what I did, I got a V8 like Jeep Grand Cherokee back in like 2015. I was like, oh, I need some power to like escape a tornado. And now I don't really, I'm not, I wouldn't buy a V8 just to try and escape a tornado. I'm not really too concerned about that because I've never run into that situation in, how many years of chasing, right? So that was a pretty rare, unique situation. I guess the one thing that uh, the one thing that I guess has stuck around though, that I would say um, uh, I would say changed me or whatever would be that I definitely I keep that in the back of my mind to have respect for these things, right? And to know that, I could definitely get into a situation that could happen again. I could be in a tornado like that and to be prepared to just bailing on a storm if I have to, right? And I have bailed on storms, like I showed you that one. Like I backed off, and I could have got a better shot of the tornado, but I backed off of it because I didn't feel comfortable with it. So not that that was an El Reno situation, but I assume an Reno situation, I probably, um, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there in El Reno, so it's hard for me to say what it looked like and felt like before things really went shit hit the fan. So
I think you made a really good point at the beginning, which is enough time has passed, relatively speaking, since that event, where we probably, and it sucks to say this, right, but it's just the truth. It's one of those things where I think you just have to have these intermittent tragedies that occur in order to jar people back into that mindset, because once enough time has passed, people get complacent. People decide that, oh, it's not going to happen because it hasn't happened in 15 years. And so that's probably my biggest concern, I think, is that people just, it's going to take another tragedy before anybody starts really worrying about that too much again.
yeah, for sure. And you have a lot of new chasers that were probably in diapers when that happened, and they don't know anything about it or really don't respect it like they should. So
On that same note, Aaron, what do you think about this phenomenon? And I don't want to overblow it. I think people on social media, they tend to have a, and you guys on Discord would never overblow anything. I never see that happening in the general discussion chat. So I'm definitely not talking about you guys. Wink, wink. But I do see it a lot, especially with younger folks, where there is sort of this just YOLO mentality where they don't mind. Whereas you said, like, maybe every once in a while you might have the tornado spin up over top of you and you got to reposition very quickly. And they're actually trying to find where the tornado's
yeah,
spawning and actually be there, zero metering right when it happens. What are your thoughts on that phenomenon?
I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts, I guess, on that, but uh yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of ridiculous, right? I call it the circus. I was bitching about it on X this past summer. I was like, this is just big circus out there. And I get like it's frustrating if you're trying to grind and do things an appropriate way that and these guys go almost get killed by a tornado and they're blowing up on YouTube, right? So it's like you have to go almost get killed and be a dumbass and drive into a tornado to actually be successful, which is completely backwards, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think I tweeted out at one point over the last couple of years that storm chasing has almost become an arms race where people are just trying to do the dumbest shit they can, and it just, I won't lie though, there was that one video, and people can hate on me if they want, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I promise that's one thing I'll always do. There's that video where those kids decided to drive like right under a developing tornado, and then they got super scared and they started like screaming and hyperventilating. I'm not gonna lie, I thought that was funny as hell. So if you're gonna do something dumb like that, at least keep the camera rolling, and then
Yeah,
have the I guess stones to post it on your YouTube channel or on your Twitter account so we can all watch it.
that's hilarious. I didn't see that. Yeah, that's what it takes, right? Like you got to do stupid shit to be able to go anywhere. At least on social media. People don't want to watch yeah, things that go viral are people being dumbasses. So
Yep, absolutely. Couple more questions here, Aaron, then we'll get you out of here. Over on YouTube, America 1776 asks, "How often do you do the stupid check while chasing tornadoes?"
what is the stupid check?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe that was something unique to your audience, but America 1776. If you want to maybe elaborate in chat what the stupid check is, I'll come back to your question here real quick. And then they had one other question. They said, once the stream ends, can I post a comment? And if you could read it, that would be nice. Yeah, we actually have a social media team that reads all comments that come in on everything. So if it's something that's specific to Coach Aaron here, one of our folks, probably either sometime later tonight or tomorrow afternoon, will collect that comment and we'll send it over to Aaron if it's something you wanted to say to him or ask him about. So you won't have to worry. Definitely leave a comment, and we appreciate that. Uh, Okay, looks like they haven't followed up yet, so I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes to do that here. And then last question, VSync. I see M Fraser one is typing. M Fraser one, if you can get that question in like 30 seconds, I'll ask it. But after that, we're closed down. VSync asks, "How long did you chase Aaron before you actually went into the Bears cage for the first time?"
Hey, that's a really good question. It wasn't the first time I was out chasing like some of these guys that are driving into it getting almost killed and then posting their videos. So it was a lot of years of starting out from a distance and learning the storms and being getting close. And like to me, it's like it's an art to be really good and successful at it without getting almost killed, right? So the exact opposite of what these other guys are doing. So yeah, so I looked at it as like an art and like a skill, right? And like as a tactician and all these romantic ideas of chasing. And yeah, so turns out I should have just parked and let the damn thing steamroll me and I'd be at a million
Yeah.
subscribers. So I screwed that one up for the past 15 years or whatever it is.
And America 1776 over on YouTube has clarified. I guess they learned it from Hank Shima, Pecos Hank. The stupid check means always checking your surroundings to make sure another, like a secondary, so either a satellite or a second mesocyclonic, or I guess even an anticyclonic, doesn't sneak up on you. Are you head on a swivel usually to make sure you're not in a spot where one of those is going to hit you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of those ones I showed you. Yeah, I'm always checking behind me, watching. I'm worried about ghost track. I told you I was chasing that with Wellfleet one, and I was worried about the ghost train coming up behind me and ripping stuff and hitting me or stuff like that. But that same tornado in Wellfleet, I remember there being I seen a satellite tornado off to the west. And I remember it was, obviously there was a major tornado ongoing, so I didn't really pay attention to it. But I remember seeing some other chasers mention that a satellite. I was like, oh, there was a satellite. I did see a satellite during that chase off to this behind me there. So yeah, I'm definitely always keeping an eye for that stuff.
All right, Aaron, and last question here comes in from M. Fraser 1. They ask, so with the increase in chasers this year, where there's been a lot more congestion in traffic, a lot of chaser convergence, has that affected your strategy for staying safe in the bear's cage? And I'm guessing that's like along the lines of have your escape routes maybe become a little bit more tenuous since you don't know if you can actually access them quickly.
Yeah, I definitely you know, there's a lot of chasers trying to get in the Bears cage as well now these days. They used to be like the safe spot to go where there was no one at, right? Like everyone was like 1 or 2 miles out watching it, and so you could be all alone with the tornado in the Bears cage. Now there's half a dozen chasers coming racing in from all directions when there's a tornado on the ground, right? Unless you're you pull a Rosper, Manitoba or something, and you're the only chaser on it, basically. But yeah, I try I change my chase strategy based on how congested I think it's going to be for sure. Like, if I think it's going to be a real shit show of lots of chasers trying to get underneath the storm, I'll probably hang back and wait for the right time to try and get close to the tornado. But um, you know, I would say for the most part, it's still even. I say there's a lot of chasers now, man, in the Bears cage, but still for the most part, there's a lot of chasers, but it's generally just the same few. You see the same faces and cars that are in the Bears cage. And so if they're in the Bears cage, they're probably experienced and it's not too much of a traffic problem because everyone is courteous to each other in the Bears cage, unless they're just trying to drive into it and die and get on YouTube. But yeah,
Well, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, Aaron, thank you very much for the awesome presentation. Thanks for answering the questions. And to everyone in the audience, we really appreciate you on Discord and on YouTube. You guys have all been great tonight.
yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks for having me.
See you guys.
See you guys.